Yo, what is going on, my fellow sea serpents? It's K-norr back here again, and today we're actually doing a new video idea. It's a retrospect video. It's a review video, but today we're going to be discussing, is DeadRising good based on it being a good game, or is it just my nostalgia that makes it think it's good? So today I went back to play DeadRising, and we're going to be discussing it. It's a long video, so buckle up and enjoy. The intro to this game is super iconic, it's super interesting, it literally throws you into the roles of your character, Frank West. Now, why is this intro so good? I'm going to put a little bit of clips here and there and show you what the intro is, as you can tell by the background, but what ultimately makes this game is not graphically or anything like that, it's his characters. And the introduction to this game is phenomenal because it just throws you right into the role, it throws you into the world, and it doesn't give you a whole lot of explanation. It makes you figure it out as you go along with the story. And honestly, who doesn't like a cool ass helicopter scene looking at the shitty skybox from '07, you know? Obviously, this was revolutionary during its time, this intro, because you gotta see a cool ass skybox, you gotta see this huge world, you gotta see the Xbox 360's graphics, because this game was exclusive to the Xbox. But ultimately, you got to experience so much with this. Now I'm gonna roll a couple clips here of the intro, so watch. I'll let you guys know if this is nostalgia or if it's just good. I honestly think the intro is just really good because it just throws you right into it. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It's like, alright, look, this is where we're going. What the hell is going on here? We have to figure it out, and let's do it.
What is that? Some kind of riot? Is this what you came to take pictures of?
Sure is.
No way! And check that out! Look at all those people! What the hell's happening here?
As you see, this game, it just throws you right into it, right? You're going through this town, there's so much crazy shit going on, to the point where it's, like, ridiculous. You're like, the zombies are attacking, but, you know, the characters have to play a little dumb, and they're like, oh, what the hell is that? Why are people attacking each other? Like, oh my god, this is crazy. I mean, obviously, we would have that reaction in real life. I wouldn't think immediately, oh, that's zombies. I'd be like, what the fuck is going on with all these people? Especially when you're in a helicopter, you can't see that much. I'd be like, that's nuts. But it just throws you into this town. Like, you never see this town ever again. Like, you play, the main setting is mainly you're stuck in this mall, and that's the whole thing, is you're in this mall waiting for evac, this helicopter coming back. But no, this beginning intro shows you that you're in a town that's overran. Not just a mall, it's an entire town, and everything's going to shit, and you just need to figure out what's going on. Now, we're going to be talking about Frank West in this next one. The main character who we play as, who we jump into the intro with. So, let's get to it. Frank West, the staple character to DeadRising. Any DeadRising fan loves Frank West. What they did with him in the first game was phenomenal. They threw you into this role of a wartime journalist, photojournalist, or whatever you call it, and he is reporting on the most craziest thing that's happening in the country right now. He's used to going to foreign places, as he says it himself at one point, he's covered wars, you know. He's went to war-torn areas to cover the worst topics by himself, and now he's doing it again, but this time it's on homeland soil. Frank West, you literally get thrown in the shoes of Frank West, and you can already feel for this character. This character's voice lines, his actual voice actor was phenomenal for the whole thing. He is one of the better characters in the series. And if anything, I would argue us being in his shoes actually elevated to main story to make it 10 times better. Because, one, instead of us being there when everything went down, and then piecing it together, we are an outsider going in, so we have a good outside perspective on everything. We don't have the emotional baggage or connection to anything. We are figuring out everything. As you see right here, we literally are jumping into the action as Frank West. That's how it feels to play as him. Yeah, don't let his poor graphical design from '07 get the best of you. To be honest with you, back from '07, graphically this game was phenomenal. But that's besides the point. His blocky and heroic nature is kind of annoying, right? But he's a very sarcastic douchebag. He wants to cover the story. He's an actual reporter who wants the facts rather than try to opinionate everything. He just wants to know the truth of what's going on. And from a role playing perspective, it's great. Even from pushing a narrative perspective for a story. Now we'll talk about the story in a minute here, but we're gonna talk about why Frank West is a perfect catalyst to push the narrative to the story. One, we're trying to uncover what is going on, and it's the best thing you can use as a photojournalist who wants to know the facts, and that's what we do. With Frank, we learn the facts. We learn the people. We interact with these people throughout the world. Frank West, his cheesy one-liner dialogue makes the world feel so much more alive because he actually has human reaction, human emotion. Even though from our viewpoint, because it's 2021, it doesn't look like he actually shows a lot of emotion, in his facial animations, but you can tell by his lines that he's passionate about certain things. You could tell that he is actually experienced and he knows what he's doing, rather than opposed to being just some random nobody. We are playing as Frank West, and as we go with the story, as we learn information, Frank West also learns. The survivors have to be the dumbest fucking people alive on this goddamn planet. In Dead Rising 1, the survivors are so stupid, and they look so horrible. Like, look at how exaggerated this guy's face is in the beginning. Like, it's ridiculous. But these survivors are so stupid that they got themselves caught by this zombie apocalypse. The zombies are slow, they just walk, they just get eaten, and that's it. But honestly, the survivors make this game Dead Rising. Like, that's all about Dead Rising. It's the characters, it's about these survivors, about these people living in this world, about these people. Sure, they're stupid, but it explains why the zombies are able to easily overrun them because how stupid they are. I know it sounds very redundant, but it's true. There's a lot of moments where these survivors just defy all common sense for the sake of the plot, and honestly, it's probably the best part about the game because it's so comedic. It's hilarious. The characters pretty much don't know what they're doing at all times. My case is proven right here. There's no zombies in the mall yet. Nothing's going on. Nothing's going awry. But this chick, she wants her dog. Her dog's trapped where all the zombies are, and they just fucking let her do it. I mean, come on. This old ass lady pushed off two grown ass men easily with no trouble. Like, honestly. And look, she wants her dog, and boom, she got eaten. No one tries to shut the door. Nope. Zombies just roll right in there. This is how stupid the survivors are, and it just goes to show how wacky and creative this game can be with the people. Like, honestly, that's probably the best part about this. It's just how crazy everything is with the survivors. They're like, oh, what are you doing? What are you people doing? Get out of here. They just stand in place majority of the time. Like, it's so absurd, but so it kind of goes to show like how people how they push the narrative of this game with the survivors. It's funny. Survivors are, even in gameplay wise, are stupid as hell. They do not know what is going on. They stand in place. They get in your way. They serve as an annoyance by them whining constantly that they need help if they get caught. They cannot defend themselves even with weapons. Now there is a way you can improve upon the survivors by getting a late game magazine, but either way they're still dumb. But honestly, it adds to the chaos factor to the game with the survivors because you have to babysit them so often, and you're always on this constant constant time rush with the cases and everything like that, and getting people in and out safely, that it just goes to show that these survivors are going to slow you down. That's a given, but it's up to you. How well do you babysit these survivors? Like for instance, this is how unique the survivors are in Dead Rising 1, right? So I mean, it's not really that unique in retrospect, right? But like during its time, it was great, right? You have survivors who are mixed, right? You have survivors that some of them you need to lean on you. Some survivors won't actually follow you unless they have another survivor they were with. Meaning, like, for instance, there's this couple, and she won't move unless that you actually carry that guy and bring him with it. It's actually cool. It adds to the element of the game. It makes everything more chaotic and crazy. And honestly, sure, it kind of drags down the pacing of the game, like in terms of just getting to point A to point B, but it does it in such a great way. And it's worth it due to the XP. I mean, look, this chick got caught, and I had to run back and get her. That's how crazy that was. Another thing is, just to show how unique it is, and this is probably the craziest thing, if you give Ross the gun, you have two decisions with him. He shoots himself if he gets the gun. It blew my mind when I saw this. I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy! Like, why? You can just talk to Tanya and get him, drag him back and he's fine, but you can let him die. That just goes to show how crazy and unique everything is. Speaking of moments that are like kind of sketched and whatnot, or kind of like secretive, right? There actually are secret survivors. Now, the Otis, the main guy, the main security guard, he tells you that, hey, these are the people here and there, and you get a case for them and wonder where they're at. But there are hidden survivors scattered throughout the mall that you can actually find at certain periods of time. For instance, Bill. Bill was hiding behind a bunch of cardboard boxes, and Otis couldn't see him because he wasn't in any of the cameras. Now, you talk to him, and he's like, oh my god, thank god, dude. I've been stuck there for 2 days. He doesn't even know about zombies yet. That's so unique and cool that you could just stumble upon these survivors. And it just goes to show that it pays to explore, and it pays to kind of have prior knowledge. Definitely for replayability factors, this game does a great job at it, because once you explore certain areas, you find out there are hidden survivors scattered throughout the mall. Now, there's only a couple instances in the first game. They do it better in the second game, but for the first game, it was like, holy shit, I can't believe that there are these people, and they're all unique. They all have interesting things about them, their backstory and everything like that. They kind of are like meat sponges and whatnot, for XP. You kind of just drag them around, but like if you talk to them, like how do they react to Frank and you, even though it's through text, it's just fascinating. You get more time with them. You get more time to grow with Frank West, and they serve as a catalyst to that. That's why I love the survivors so much. They make Dead Rising Dead Rising. Look, I'm gonna be frank with you. I'm going off script here right now. The music to this game is fucking amazing. I can't tell you how much I love the music to the game. The mall music, while you chop down thousands of zombies with the most absurd weapons or just anything you could think of, like throwing a bench at a zombie or a crowd of zombies, is awesome. Gotta have that little subtlety music to it. But the psycho music, adding that little flavor of rock that is more like indie, you can't find it anywhere, like an indie game. It's not a lot of people have heard it or listened to it. It adds to the boss fights. It adds so much to the game. I can't think of the boss fights without the music of that's backing them. Honestly, they're so good, it's so catchy, and it goes with it so perfectly.
Too slow. All deep system.
Everyone used to laugh at me. I was a walking punchline. But not anymore.
The Psychos, the most iconic thing about it, the boss battles of the game. Frank West's reaction to each and every one of these Psychos is priceless, and each and every one of them is interesting. It just goes to show how bleak humanity can be during the worst times. Honestly, my favorite thing about the game is fighting the bosses with the music, and on top of it, learning about them. Go check this out that's coming up with this boss, and tell me this isn't terrifying.
Stops, then the zombies come back, and that won't be any fun at all.
It's awesome that you're able to take pictures of them and have the memorabilia of these bosses while you're fighting them, and they're also unique and they have that little charm to them in each and every one of their fights. Now, what's the best though is their death scenes. Those are probably the most impactful for their characters. Each Psycho has a unique charm slash quirk. They are probably the best thing about this game. Not only are they driven mad by the zombies who've destroyed their world, but on top of it, it just goes to show the player how the zombies are pretty much, oh, one shot, one kills, while the Psychos are the challenge. The people are the biggest threats. They're even worse than the zombies in that regard. Now, I want to also say how each intro scene brings out these characters to life. They flesh out these Psychos, these bosses. They make them interesting. Their over-the-top dialogue and banter with the player, and Frank West's pure raw emotion and reaction to these people. Frank's covered wars on top of it, but seeing people go to this level of extreme, it makes me go like, what the hell's going on? This is nuts, this is crazy. And then the best part about it is they sell perfectly their role as a Psycho, especially with their over-the-top dialogue, with their ridiculous viewpoints, and it just shows how far they have fallen from the people they used to be. Now I'm going to show you a clip here of exactly what I'm talking about. Let's check it out.
Listen to me, and listen good, partner. I don't allow vandalism in my store!
Like I said previously about the survivors, the Psychos also have hidden versions of themselves where you can find. Like, for instance, the gunsmith. He is probably the only example, but I love the sense of irony there are in each and one of these scenes. Instead of, you know, them being over the top and whatnot, like some of the Psychos are, they actually make them more realistic and grounded in their character. They're not just complete maniacs. They used to be human beings. They still are human beings, and there's a reason for why they snapped. For instance, like it's coming up right here. Let's check it out.
You. Over there. Here. Take this. My granddaughter. She was done in by those damn zombies. When I heard her scream, I just lost it. Everything went white suddenly. The war, it wasn't over.
Man, the main story is semi a mess, honestly. It's all over the place, especially when replaying it. But it's not crazy to actually suspend disbelief with the zombies and all that, to think that these people overturned them, because you got these things called the queens who pretty much cause the zombie apocalypse, which the queens are just queen bees who just pretty much carry the virus and infect people that way. So it's actually believable how they get infected. It's just kind of unbelievable how the zombies are able to kill people. They do get stronger at nighttime, so that would explain a lot. But anyway, let's jump into what the actual whole main story is, besides me talking about zombies the entire time. Now, Frank West is a photojournalist, and he shows up to Willamette Mall on plane to figure out what the hell is going on. He finds out that the government has locked down everything and is trying to quarantine and make sure no one hears about the zombie apocalypse that's going on. They actually are going to kick it up to like a terrorist attack or something along the lines. And funny enough, it's actually a terrorist attack that does happen that causes the Willamette outbreak, which is what it's called. Now, the Willamette outbreak is pretty much the biggest thing that happened in U.S. history in terms of a terrorist attack since 9/11, and they like to go on and on about it. Now, now you have Carlito and Isabella, or Carlos and Isabella. Isabella's right here as seen on the clip. Isabella is the sister to Carlos or Carlito or whatever his name is. And they are Carlos is the sole proprietor of why the Willamette attack happened with the zombie apocalypse. The government was experimenting on these people in Santa Cabeza with the queen bees with the zombie apocalypse, and that turned out bad. It was I think it was a Black Watch project or something like that, a black box project. That's what it was, and pretty much it just devolved into shit. It just became awful. Everybody died, and they try to cover their tracks really fast. Now you work with agents of the government, which is Brad and whatever the one chick's name is. Brad is probably by far one of the more interesting characters, while the other chick is just there to serve to, be a catalyst to, the beginning of the game, kind of to be like, oh, Brad, yada yada yada, whatever, she's watching the monitors all the time. She's not getting action what you and your homeboy Brad are doing. Now, honestly, I gotta say, those two government agents, well, mainly Brad, help with Frank's story. They kind of show you the trailer, well, not the trailer, they're kind of like the form of the tutorial in the beginning of the game. You follow Brad, he goes there. Well, Brad's looking for Brad and whatever her name is. See, she's unmemorable as hell. I can't remember her name, but Brad is looking for Dr. Barnaby, who had a big major effect in Santa Cabeza, and is going to explain why this happened. Now, you eventually get Dr. Barnaby, but Dr. Barnaby wants Rescue to come to save him. Now, that's pretty much the sum of the story. The best part about the main story, though, is how each case you learn more and more and more with Frank West. Now, Frank West is honestly what holds this, like a bunch of other the elements we talked about before, but Frank West is the glue that holds this together. His cheesy one-liners and whatnot. Now, each case you learn more and more, like I said. But you could fail these cases and it could affect your ending, which is a big thing. Which is kind of funny, because you could get the worst ending by just not doing anything at all. Or just by halfway through the cases you give up on it and you want to just save survivors the entire time. Either way, the helicopter is going to arrive, which you can miss the helicopter that Frank West came on, because he said, hey, come back for me in 3 days. Now, you could actually miss that, and Frank West just dies. It's like, holy fuck. I think there's an ending where, there's a bunch of other endings. I don't want to really spoil it. I know this game is from '07, but I say go check it out. Anyway, that's pretty much the main story in a nutshell. Now, I kind of been the entire video like, oh, Frank West, I'm riding his dick the entire time. I apologize that I ride it so much. It's just a nice dick to ride on. But Frank West, honestly, is by far one of the more intriguing characters. He's the glue that holds this whole game together. His cheesy one-liners and his actual real reaction to psychos and events that are unfolding in front of him. Sure, he's not completely traumatized by everything. And sure, a lot of things that happen to him, you gotta suspend disbelief for, you know, because everything falls in place for him. You know, he kind of has the main character plot armor, but he's more grounded by little subtle details in the game. Like, he never shot a gun before, and then you see in many of the scenes and whatnot that he misses just from point blank shots. Well, he never shot at a person before, and he misses, like Carlos in one of the scenes. Now, that's not only the thing I want to talk about Frank West. Frank West, his character improves tenfold when he's pushed to the brink. Now, he gets pushed to the brink, right? He sees people that you grow with, and as the story goes along, with die. I'm not going to spoil it, but he semi is like, what the hell? But he still is trying to uncover the truth. After he uncovers the truth, he just wants to get the hell out of there. Now, he ultimately finds out that the military is completely trying to stop him, and that's in the overtime mode, where it completely changes the dynamics of the game. The game becomes completely different, which is probably is so cool about this game. The entire time you're running away, saving survivors from zombies, and then the mall just becomes completely empty, and it's just filled with military men that are trying to only kill you, and there's no survivors. Everybody is dead. Everybody who could escape is already out, and you and Isabella are trapped together. Now, what does that do for the character of Frank West? Well, it pushes him to the brink of it. Overtime mode, he gets infected by a zombie, right? He finally gets bitten, even though gameplay-wise he's been bitten probably 10 million times. But that's besides the point. In the story, he actually gets canonically bitten, and he becomes affected. And Isabella tries to help him make sure he doesn't turn, and tries to figure out a way to subside the, you know, infection in him. And ultimately, you go around scattered throughout the map looking for these things, and it brings a sense of urgency to the player because you're on a time crunch on top of the military trying to stop you, on top of you trying to learn supplies. It keeps that core element of being on a constant time crunch with the character, but it pushes him to the edge, and you see it during his last boss battle with the character, with the psycho. He literally is surrounded by zombies on a tank, and he's trying so hard to make sure he does not die that he fights, and out of anger, he's rage. He's like, ah, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, and he's just like, I did it. I'm gonna make it out of this fucking tank. And it just shows, honestly, his voice actor, his lines, everything about him makes this character who it is. You know, his iconic lines, you know, fantastic, you know, that all iconic, all amazing. Like, even in his little sub boxes with the survivors, you know, he's that sarcastic douchebag that we all grow to love. You know, he's kind of like that uncle that's funny and charming and that we all love. But enough about me like sucking Frank West's dick, honestly, because I've been doing that the whole time. Let's just talk about what he brings to the table. Frank West knows how to assess a situation. 9 times out of 10, if he's in a semi-position of power to lean on a scoop or something like that, in this case Brad, I'll use him as an example, he will take it, right? So Brad's looking for evac and he needs that in 3 days, right? And Frank West is like, look, well, I need to get information. That's why I came here. I want to know the facts. We got to work together. And Brad is in no position to say no because he needs to escape. He needs to escape to fulfill his mission. So he's like, fuck, I gotta say yes. You know, there's no other way around it. If I say no, then we're screwed. And Frank West knows that. So he's like, come on, look, I got this going on. Just give me information. That's all you gotta do. He put himself into a position of power to get the things that he wanted. And it's not like he's a douchebag about it. I mean, he is a douchebag about it. He's kind of sarcastic, you know? But he's not an asshole. He doesn't care. We learned that he actually does make sure people are okay. He's overall a good person. The only reason why he's there, the reason why he puts himself in the wars and zombie apocalypse hordes is to get the truth out to the public. He inspires, honestly, he should inspire all journalists, any kind of journalist, what they should be. Like, this is the ideal goal. Successful, and on top of it, presents the facts in the way that they should be presented. They're not opinionated, they're not biased, they're nothing. He just presents them in this. I'm like, look right here. Why the fuck does Brad not blink? Why does the NPCs not blink at all? Do you see that? That's fucking weird. I don't know why they don't do that.
Brad! I'll be fine. Just take care of the professor. Go.
He's unconscious, but alive. You all right?
Yeah, but I'm not in any condition to carry him. Can you get him back to the security room?
Man, these guys are probably by far the most weirdest thing about this game. Their design, everything about them, they're creepy, they're kooky, they're crazy. You know, they're just a bunch of nut jobs running around believing in whatever religious beliefs they believe in. But honestly, they mix up the life of the game. I think you run into them on day 2, and they just, instead of fighting around zombies, you're fighting around these creepy ass, you know, survivors who've lost their minds, and they just believe in this. They believe in this fucking religious belief from this fanatic who's the leader, who you later can, you know, help survivors escape from this cult and everything about it. It's a shame that they didn't touch up too much on it. It's like a little, like, nod at a bunch of other real world events with the cult and whatnot, but it's just like, it kind of falls flat because there's just, you have a couple days of these psychos being here, or these, like, of this cult being here, they kill a leader and then they're gone completely. I mean, because they're not the main focus, I get that, but still, they are interesting as hell. I wish there was more involvement with Frank West mentioning these people, but there's really not, which kind of sucks, which kind of drags them down, honestly, because now they just feel like they throw a wrench in the bone into the gameplay of the game, which is a needed one, because, you know, the zombies and the fast-pacedness, adding them onto it is pretty dope. Now, what I want to show you here is what's coming up is that these guys can actually abduct you, which is actually cool as shit. They're creepy as hell while you're fighting them, and then on top of it, because you hear the little, like, home of them doing in the background, but they can abduct you. It's fucking awesome. Alright, in conclusion, in all retrospect, you know, looking back on this game, was it just my nostalgia that thought it was good, or was this actually a good game? And this is probably gonna be the answer all of you guys thought. The fast-pacedness, everything I've talked about, the survivors, how fast-paced everything is, how chaotic everything is, the story's good, it's intriguing and whatnot. The psychos and the music on top of it make this game iconic, and honestly, be playing it is super fucking fun. The fact that you can fail your cases and that you don't have your hand held through you the whole game, and how it feels like a speed run carries this game. It makes this game live on even more. The survivors and all that, awesome as hell. You know, they're stupid as shit and they're goofy, but it's not too absurd to see them as this, you know? You can kind of interpret that in the real world, in the real sense. Now, ultimately, this game, it is not nostalgia that makes it, you know, when looking back on it, it's not my nostalgia, you know, elevating this game to a high standard. This game is just that good. This game is so fucking good. Like, everything about it is amazing. If you had not played Dead Rising 1 in 2021, you are missing out. I played this game as a kid, and I was like, oh, this is a good game, and looking back on it, I was like, oh man, that's a great game. I just replayed it again for, I don't know, like the first or second time in like years, and holy shit, I'm like, yeah, I had good taste on games back then. Like, this game is honestly phenomenal. I love this game. You can make Frank West dress up in the most absurd outfits, and no one even pays attention. Look at him. The man's in a fucking teddy bear outfit right now with his underwears on, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on? It's goofy and wacky, but at the same time, it has that serious undertone to it that everyone likes. It's a perfect mixed bag, which the sequels later on neglect. It just makes, so the sequels just make it completely wacky, or they try too hard to make it serious. Cough, cough, failure, Dead Rising 4. Clearly, this game is a good game because there are so many sequels to it. It did amazing. It used to be an exclusive on the Xbox 360. That's how I used to play it. But ultimately, this is not my nostalgia that's talking. It is just a great game for the reasons I stated above. Now, I appreciate you all watching this half-hour long video. It took me a lot of time to make, to edit everything down. I appreciate every single one of you that watches my content, especially these long-ass videos. I love you all. This has pretty much been my take on DeadRising 1. In retrospect, it is a good fucking game. That is your boy, K-norr Sea Serpent, signing off. I'll see you later, my Sea Serpents. Until next time. Bye!